I wanted to wait to open this until we could do it together. And the wait was probably more torturous for me than for you because I had to look at this every day until we could finally open it. But now the day has arrived and it's time to open my very first ever omnibus. This is X-Men Inferno. Check it out. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Chris, this is Northgarden Comics. If you're new to the channel, I want to say welcome, and if you like comic book and comic related content like hauls and like an omnibus that I'm going to show you today, things like that, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. You know, as you watch, if you see something you like, please give it a thumbs up, and love to hear your comments and questions down below. Now, if you're returning to the channel, welcome back. Thanks for coming and watching more of my videos. I do want to point out something you may have noticed here in the background over the last couple of videos, that it's changed. And that's because while I like to think of this room as my comic book room, it's really always been a shared space. The TV that was historically in the background for most of my previous videos is now on the other side of the camera here. We've basically done a 180 and swung things around. But in addition to that, this room is shared with our home PC, where my son does a lot of video gaming, not so quietly, I'll admit. And then my wife, Nicole, she also is a big crafter, and so she's got this half of the room over here that's dedicated to organization. She's got a folding table to be able to film videos, do her DIYs, things like that, and do her actual workspace and be able to leave it out. So it's a shared room, and it wasn't working for us in the previous arrangement, so we had to do some shuffling around. And I previously had two tall, they're called Metro racks, so just that metal shelving. You can get them at like Target, Home Depot, things like that. And it's got the wire shelves, which, just a side comment, you know, they work okay for me, but I wouldn't get them again for comic books, just because that wire, when you're taking short boxes on and off the shelf, it really tends to, if you're not careful, it can really rip up the bottom of the boxes. So don't love that. I would prefer to have something smooth on those shelves. But the point is that I had two of those that were behind me in what you saw in my previous videos. One of those I've taken and basically cut it in half, you know, separated it into its two halves, and then created two sets of shelves behind me. And this actually gained me an extra shelf. There's only 5 actual shelves that come with a Metro rack, but when I took them apart, you've got 3 on one and 2 on the other. And then what's created down below here is that one row is actually just on the carpet on the floor. So I actually gained a row of space to actually allow me 4 more short boxes of comics, which is nice because I'm really pushing up against the limit of my space. And so my comics needed a little breathing room. And I actually just went through over the course of this last week and went through box by box. If you've reorganized your books, you know how tedious this can be, but many of my short boxes were super compressed and tight with the books, so it was really hard to look through, and it was nearly impossible to add books as I got them. So I went through and pulled a section of books out of each box to give those books some breathing room. Not too much so that they would, you know, bend, but just to have some room so I could file through them more easily and to add books as I got them. But of course, you start here, and then you move some books to that one, and you gotta take some books out of that and move to this, and so on. So it's like a domino effect that goes through all the boxes in my collection. So that took a while, but that's mostly done now. And my comic book collection did expand into a couple extra boxes as a result of that. So it's good that I have that extra space down there, but also it's nice because now I can much more easily go through those books and look for things and add things to it. So just wanted to point that out in case you had noticed that difference. I'll also show, because you don't really see it, this artwork behind me because of the camera angle, but I'm going to tip this up for a second here because I do like these pieces of art. These are art pieces that I got at a local show here in the Twin Cities. It's called SpringCon, and I don't know if the artists are from the Twin Cities or if, but because people travel from a lot of different places to come to SpringCon. It's held at our at the Minnesota State Fairgrounds, and it's a really big indoor area, one room, and people do come from several states away to this. So I don't know if they're local or not. The Flash here is based on Barry Allen from the TV show, from CW's The Flash, and that artist I already forgot. Ben Vasquez. He signed it down there in the lower left corner. This middle one is my favorite. That's a Spider-Man, and his brother, Joey. Yeah. Joey Vasquez did the Spider-Man. I love that. I love the blue in the sky, the nice white of the clouds, and just, I don't know, I just feel like the colors really pop on that one. And then this one over here, Black Panther. I can't tell what the art is. I think it's like Avila, A-V-I-L-A, or A-V-I-L-I. I'm not sure, but that's who did that third one there with the Black Panther. And I got those, gosh, it must have been 5 years ago now that I got those at a SpringCon, again, here in the Twin Cities. So obviously because of, well, maybe not obviously, but because of COVID, we didn't have SpringCon last year in 2020, and it has been canceled again for this year. Although I will say, for those of you who watch and are local, you should be checking social media because there are a couple cool shows coming up. One is hosted by Most Wanted Comics. They're a local vendor and dealer here. They don't have a store. They travel around, they host shows, and they attend shows. And this weekend, actually, they're at a show in Madison, Wisconsin. But they're going to be doing a show at like an Eagles Lodge. I forget the location. I'll put that in the description below once I confirm that location. But Most Wanted Comics is doing a show that's free to get into. That'll be next weekend, which is the 17th. I want to say Saturday the 17th. And then coming back to what I was saying about SpringCon, those folks are planning a FallCon. So they do a 2-day convention every year in the spring, and then they do usually a 1-day convention in October. It's called the One Day Wonder, and that's also at the State Fairgrounds. It's a little smaller. They are planning FallCon. They're planning a 2-day event, and I'm really looking forward to that because that's a really fun time, and people come from all over for that, and there's cosplayers and things like that. But it's still highly concentrated, you know, real high focus on the books themselves, which is my favorite, and the creators and things that you can meet. But SpringCon, no SpringCon this year, but they are doing what they're calling Spring Fling, and that's going to be a 1-day event. I think 1 day. Again, I'll confirm the details and I'll put them down below in the description, but that's coming up in May. I want to say May 15th, and that's in a town called Mound. It's like north of the Twin Cities at a place called the Mermaid Center, and I really want to go to that. I'm not sure what scheduling with kids and things is like, because that gets into different performances and things that are going on this year. So if I can go, I will be sure to take a picture or get you some shots of that Mermaid Center, because that's a unique little building there. But they have events, and they have like a banquet center downstairs. I think that's where they're going to do the show that day. And all the money they raise, that will be $5 entry fee. All the money they raise from that will go towards supporting and funding FallCon, which is put on by volunteers. So great organization, couple cool shows coming up. Just thought I'd tell you about that in case you are local, because I know some local folks do watch these. But to get to the topic at hand today, the wait, again, is over. Last time I showed all the new books that I got from DCBS. That's the pre-order service that I use to go on my new books. Showed all my single issues that I got from DCBS for the month of March 2021. And there were a couple special items in there that you don't get every month. One was a Transformers collected edition, got volume 11 from that phase 2. But then this is the one I was super excited about, because this is my first ever omnibus. And I wanted to show this and do this together because, you know, I'm sure there's some of you out there who just like omnibus collecting and you collect these yourself and like to see them. But then maybe you're more like me and you're still really new to this whole omnibus thing. I am not planning on converting over and making all my collecting into omnibus and collected editions. They're gorgeous. I love them. They're beautiful to look at. It's a great way to present, a format to present the art in. But my heart of hearts, I'm a single issue collector. That's my favorite thing. But that's not to say I can't appreciate this and add some to my collection, because they look really nice on the shelf. And it's a great way to have in one volume, a full story. And this is a crossover. We'll look at the back cover here, but it's got like 40 some comics in here, and I don't have all of them in single issues. I did do a separate video where I showed many of the single issues that I have from this Inferno crossover, and I'll put a banner up here that you can click on if you want to see that after you're done watching this one. But you know, omnibus are kind of cool, And so I'm looking at starting to add some of these to my collection. Maybe it's a favorite story, a crossover event, or characters that I'd really like to preserve in that collected edition. So it's just an additional layer to my comic book collecting. And I get all these at a discount, and from what I've heard from other people who collect these much more often, you definitely should really try to look. There are plenty of websites, maybe not plenty, there's several websites where you can order collected editions and not pay full cover price. And I would recommend holding out for getting them at a discount, because this has a cover price of $125 US. And so that's spendy and a little too rich for my blood for one book. So I got this at half off, so that was pretty nice. But let's go ahead and cut into this together, and I will switch the camera angle around here to give you a close-up look at this, and we'll just kind of take a look at it and go through this and experience this together. Okay, I've slid down here to the floor so I could give you a better look at this opening and this omnibus. It does come sealed in this plastic wrap here, so we'll go ahead and cut into this first. This is always a little nerve-wracking. Smells new. I wish you could convey the smell over the video here. So here it is out of the plastic wrap. It does have a dust jacket on it. You can see the spine there, X-Men Inferno. And there are two covers for this. This is the direct market cover, and then there's a standard edition cover. One of the differences on the spine is that this artwork down here is different on the direct edition than it is from the standard. So two different artworks. So if you're looking at it on your shelf and you really know those things well, you'd be able to spot the difference between the two. And then on the back here, I like this as well, where they show you all of the individual covers of the single issues that make up this event. And I presume they're in order. So it starts back here with X Factor number 33, and then it goes to X Terminators, back to X Factor, and so on, all the way through. And you can see all the different books that are contained in this omnibus. So let's go ahead. Now we're going to slide off this dust jacket. Got the flames there. I know the dust jacket lives on this when it's on the shelf, but don't waste any surface is my thought, and they don't. Where they put the flame on the front there. Again, here's the spine with the flames wrapping around, and then the flames on the back. I have seen some more elaborate art on some videos of Omnibus before, but it's fine. That's nice, and if you could hold it, it's definitely a nice, sturdy construction, and so you pay more for this, but you do feel the substance of it when you hold it in your hand, so it doesn't feel cheap. It feels hefty, it feels handy, not handy. It feels solid, and you feel like you got something that's a quality piece of manufacturing here. Now, I am going to go through, I have not relaxed the spine yet, obviously, because I just opened it in front of you. And so I'm going to go ahead and actually do that. And I'm either going to edit it out, or I'm going to at least speed it up so you don't have to see that, because that takes a long time. There are plenty of videos online where people have shown how to relax the spine of an omnibus, but essentially you're going to set it down on its spine, and then you want to open the two covers themselves, and then essentially I have to go through here and pull just a couple pages at a time. I recommend making sure your hands are clean as you're touching these pages too. And you just start to peel down a few pages, give it a little press down there, and you work your way all the way through this to the center. I grabbed a lot of pages there. So, yep, I'm going to continue to do this, and like I said, we'll either edit out the rest of this or I'll kick it up into high speed so you don't have to watch the whole thing in painstaking detail. All right, so that was relaxing the spine. I will say that is a time-consuming process. And I've heard that you're supposed to do that process 2 or 3 times. I only did it the once just for the purpose of this video, and I'll do it again before I read the omnibus, but just did it once for now so I could show you. And what I've done here is I actually brought in the most recent Transformers Collected edition I received, and it's because I noticed a couple things as I was going through and relaxing the spine on this one. One thing, which is, well, they're both kind of superficial, but the first one is the smell. I love to smell comic books, single issues, collected editions, whatever it is, and I know you do too, because we're all like that, I think, or at least the vast majority of us who collect comics love to sniff the comics. There's a distinct smell to old comics, there's a distinct smell to new comics. I like them both. But I will say that when I'm comparing these two, if you've ever read any of IDW's single issues or collected editions, they smell fantastic. I love the smell of the IDWs. This X-Men Inferno, it was okay. It wasn't doing anything special for me. So, but I figured I would just mention that just in full transparency, the things that I notice and pay attention to. But that's one thing. The second thing that I noticed is as I was relaxing that spine, of course, I'm touching all these pages, and the paper is different than what I'm accustomed to in these Transformers editions. Some of them almost feel almost textured, and whereas others feel smooth. Like it's not gritty, but it's, like I said, it's like a kind of a texture to it. And the paper is a different kind of paper than, say, in this IDW Collected Edition. I don't know, maybe this seems glossier? I really don't know papers that well, but maybe it's that the Transformers one seems glossier, and they're very smooth, and yeah. So overall, first impressions, not judging too harshly here, but first impressions, I prefer the paper, the look, the actual feel, and the smell of this over here in the IDW Collected Edition over and above these, or this omnibus from Marvel. So first one ever. Don't know if that's standard. If you've collected these before and you have thoughts on that, whether it's the quality, the smell, the type of paper used in the different collected editions from Marvel, DC, Image, IDW, others, let me know down in the comments. But I'm not going to go through and show you all of the pages here, but I do want to give you a little idea of what's in here. So we've got this blank page. That's a cool cover or title page with Madeline Pryor on it there. And then we've got all the writers involved, the pencilers involved, the inkers, and it goes all the way through colorists, letters, letterers, and then the editorial staff, cover artists. So all the creative credits there. And then into the table of contents, you've got the starting page for all of the individual issues. And like I said, there's somewhere between 40 and 45. I forget. I did count before. Well, that's nice. Gives you this little lead up of setting the context of what's been going on so far as we get into this. And then here's some, Inferno subplot pages from Uncanny X-Men 232 to 234. So it leads up some of this. For those of you not familiar with the story, I won't give too many details, but this tells a story of, you've got Mr. Sinister working some nefarious things in the background, but Madeline Pryor, who is a dead ringer for Jean Grey, she is married to Scott Summers. They have a son, Nathan Christopher, and the basic gist is that, is it Hell, or the demons of Hell? Are they on the cover here? They want to get a gateway opened to be able to come to Earth and take over. And here's one of them right here. Is that Nastir? Yeah. So he's coming from Limbo, wants to open this gate, but they need babies to be able to keep that gate open, because why wouldn't demons need something nice and innocent like babies to carry out their evil plots? But Nathan Christopher is going to be needed, so he plays a central role. Madeline Pryor, who is Nathan's mom, she is transformed into the Goblin Queen. Magic plays a role because the forces of Limbo want to turn her into the persona Darkchild and use her as well. So you've got the New Mutants, you've got X Factor, you've got the Uncanny X-Men, and then some other tie-ins with Excalibur, Power Pack, things like that. And even, you know, Amazing Spider-Man, Fantastic Four, Avengers, they get involved, though not directly. I don't think those are critical reading. It just shows how, and Daredevil, forgot to mention him, it does show how the events that is centrally focused on the X-Men does bleed out and affect other characters as well. And you get some great Daredevil artwork by John Romita Jr. in some of those issues. That's a cool 2-page splash there. You get your original 5 X-Men. And one of the reasons I got this omnibus was because of when this story took place. This was really, from what I've heard, like the first true X-Men crossover event where the story actually continued from one issue to the next across different titles. And this is really the time where I was starting to first get into the X-Men, like X Factor, Excalibur, things like that. So this really flashes me back, and this was one of the first big stories that I was exposed to. And I've never read all of it because I don't have all of the issues, but I'm looking forward to reading the entire thing. But these artists, these writers, creative teams from this time, this got a nice nostalgic vibe for me. And that's one of the reasons I wanted this in the form of an omnibus in addition to having those single issues, because, oh yeah, that's great cover there. There's some, if you have, do you have books in your collection where you look at the cover and it instantly just flashes you back to where, you know, whatever age you were when you got that? And for me, that's right at the beginning of my comic collecting days. I was in high school, and I can still picture these in my room and just sitting there reading comic books and looking at them over and over again and poring over the art, loving these characters. So really happy to have this omnibus as part of my collection now. It'll look great on the shelf. My very first omnibus. I have pre-ordered a couple others already this year. Later in 2021, I'm expecting the Age of Apocalypse omnibus, which collects that entire event series, and that is probably my favorite event series as a comic collector, because again, that goes all the way back to when I was really in the prime of collecting at first, and I was going to the comic book store every week. There was one just off my college campus I would walk to and pick up the newest X-Men books, and my roommate was reading them, I was reading them, there were others reading them. So just, yeah, great memories for when that Age of Apocalypse story came out, and I love the story. So it'll be nice to have that in a collected edition. And there's one other I think I ordered, but I can't remember what it was. Maybe I didn't order it. Maybe it's just that one other one. I thought there was one coming out later in 2021 that I did order. I'll have to go back and check my DCBS order history there. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed seeing this, seeing some of the panels. Hopefully we're doing this quickly enough that you're not getting any major spoilers if the story is brand new to you. Oh, I will say, look at this. Yeah, this is cool because I don't have any of the Todd McFarlane Amazing Spider-Man issues. I was not collecting Amazing Spider-Man at this time, but later I did get into the adjectiveless Spider-Man book that Todd McFarlane drew for however, you know, the first, what, like 16 or so issues. I did collect those, and I have all those, but I wasn't reading Amazing Spider-Man when he was drawing it. So this is nice to be able to have some of his artwork from those books in my collection, because they tend to run for more money if you want to try to get those single issues. So nice to have those. It also goes into, I think, some Spectacular Spider-Man here. Back to some ASM with Todd McFarlane. Yeah, and then, like I said, there's Excalibur, there's Daredevil, Fantastic Four, Avengers, a lot of different titles to tie in here. Oh, here we're into the Daredevil with the John Romita Jr. art. And I said last time in my video where I did the single issues of Inferno that, you know, Daredevil fighting demons, whether they be literal or figurative, is very appropriate for his character, given the themes that are prevalent in his books.
So maybe I'll close it on that. That's kind of a nice, this was Excalibur number 7. Nice wraparound cover with Alan Davis art.
All right, that's gonna wrap up the Inferno Omnibus, and I hope you enjoyed seeing that. I just hopped back up here on the couch to film this close, and my feet are kind of tingly, my legs kind of fell asleep, and the knees aren't as young as they used to be. So I hope that pain was worth it. You know, nothing's too no sacrifice too great for the viewers out there to see this omnibus. But I do hope you liked what you saw. Again, if you're new to the channel and you haven't done so yet, please do the YouTube thing and hit that subscribe, give it a thumbs up, and let me know your comments down below. Are you an omnibus collector? Have you thought about it but never pulled the trigger? Have you been doing that as your primary mode of collecting, you know, for a long time as opposed to single issues? And if nothing else, just say hi and tell me where you're watching from. Love to hear from people who are watching the channel and to be able to connect with you and talk comics and collecting with you. If you're not quite ready for the YouTube fun to be done, I have hand-selected a couple videos here that you can check out and watch, or some other hauls and things like that. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.